Okay, here's one that I intend to be a short one, exposing yet again more of Brundle and Crofty's bullshit. So, lap 2 of the Miami Grand Prix, we've got a virtual safety car, and that gives them time to show us a replay of the start. Here we go.
And we await the replay, don't we?
We do, and here it is on cue.
Of the Verstappen-Norris incident. So
let's have a look.
Down into a fairly sort of...
Whoa! Now, that is almost celebrated in the sport of Formula One. But how about Lando had accelerated as hard as he can? If a car's just pulling straight across into his line, they're going to collide. That's a dangerous mood, and that should be outlawed. Anyway.
Level, wasn't it, in the top 4? Antonelli nice and wide.
You see smoke there, and that's Max locking his tyres. All right. Nobody else does. All right. And what they don't do with these situations is maintain the camera on this corner so you can see how everybody else, how there's 20 competitors, and let's see how the other 19 go around that corner. All right. None of them do what Max does. Okay, is that because Max is the best ever? Or is that because, no, it's not because he's the best ever. We'll get to that when I do the slow-mo of it. Well, firstly, we'll listen to Brundle. I'm not going to do the analysis yet. We'll listen to Brundle.
Max locks up, then...
Absolutely right, Brundle.
Lando goes up the inside of him.
Ooh.
And then Verstappen has another slide.
Verstappen has another slide. Absolutely right, Martin.
Which meant he walked the car off to the right towards Norris.
He walked the car. I can't walk that fast, Martin, but, thanks for that.
Norris had to take avoiding action.
Absolutely right. Yep, got crowded off the track. Had to take avoiding action of somebody who's walking their car at you. Somebody's using their car as a weapon, and you've got to take avoiding action.
But I think Verstappen was ahead in the apex.
Oh, it's the apex narrative. Oh, he was ahead in the apex. Which apex? Turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. Which apex are we talking about now?
Fight, if you like, in that section, in that chicane.
It's front wheel of Lando Norris to wing mirror of Max Verstappen. We can't see.
We can see what's going on in the wing mirror here. We can't see Max's steering input, can we, Crofty? Oh, no. As always, when Max runs somebody off the track, the front view camera showing Max's steering input mysteriously disappears.
From that angle, whether Lando had the right to the corner and a right...
We can't see whether he had the right. Did he have the right to remain on track?
Right to space.
Yeah.
The driving standards guidelines, this might give us more...
The guidelines, the mystery guidelines, Crofty, the made-up ones, because I've showed you in the, not the last video, but the one before that, the guidelines, no, the actual regulations in the FIA International Sporting Code.
More of a clue.
Give me a better view.
The guidelines say, if you are doing the overtaking, you have the...
What do they say, Crofty?
Right to this corner on the inside.
Okay, we're not talking about this corner, Crofty. All right, we're not talking about this corner. The incident isn't this corner, is it? Okay, one car isn't pushing the other car off at this corner, so let's not gaslight the situation by describing the mystery guidelines and how they reflect to this corner, because Lando hasn't pushed Max off, has he? No real issue other than the fact that Max locked up.
If you are front wheel to win...
Oh, Lando is at least alongside. Now, here's the thing. I will actually, I'll refrain from doing my analysis just yet. We'll listen to Crofty.
Mirror.
Yeah, that was a shove off the racetrack.
Absolutely right, Martin.
Wasn't it?
Yes.
I think he was sufficiently, it was sort of front axle to front axle.
Alongside front axle to front axle, that'd be side by side. Well done.
Well, if Max Verstappen got a penalty in Jeddah...
If Max Verstappen got a penalty in Jeddah, this is a first turn incident in Jeddah that Crofty's now trying to compare this with, whereby Lando was the attacking car. Oscar started second on the grid. By the time they reached the first corner, Oscar was ahead. Okay, Max was on the outside. When you're on the outside, you have to be at least halfway along. I'm saying this wrong. You have to be at least level when you're on the outside to be entitled to be left track room on exit. Max wasn't level. Max being behind on entry to a corner means you have to tuck in when you're on the outside. You're not entitled to track room. If you try and hang it out there and the car on the inside that has overtaken you doesn't leave you track room, they've done nothing wrong. They've done nothing wrong. Max, rather than yield, decided to cut straight across the runoff area and overtook Oscar by going off the track. He illegally left the track, gained a position by going off the track, and therefore received a penalty, just a 5-second penalty. Didn't give the place back immediately, tried to extend so that he tried to get a 5-second lead, so the penalty would have meant nothing. He was allowed to dictate what he wanted to do to try and manage his way out of a penalty. That's what the stewards do to Max Verstappen. But Crofty's going to compare it.
Is that the same sort of penalty for here?
No, Crofty, no.
Well, no, it's different, isn't it? Because Max went
It's different. That's absolutely right, Martin.
across the runoff area there. But
because Max went across the runoff area there, and Max gained a position there. Crofty, is it this, Martin? Is it this? Crofty knows fuck all. All of a sudden, Crofty, the commentator of the sport for 10, 15 years, he's a clueless cunt, isn't he? Oh, I don't fucking know, Martin. Is it the same as that, Martin? Is it the same as that, Martin? Is it the same as that, Martin? No, you dumb fuck. Clearly not, is it, Crofty? Because you see, the difference being, having been overtaken on the run down to turn 1, Max went off the track and gained that position back. Right here, Lando, as the attempted overtaking car, was level, entitled to be left track room, and the other car forced him off the track. The penalty goes to the car forcing off, not the car that gained an illegal advantage. Lando didn't gain an illegal advantage, Crofty. Lando's race was massively harmed by what Verstappen did to him. Is that the same as last time out? Is that the same as what happened in Jeddah? No, you thick fuck, Crofty. But this is all an act, isn't it, Crofty? All an act. Because you see, when you're commentating and Martin's not there, all of a sudden you become knowledgeable again, don't you, Crofty? You become the expert then, don't you, Crofty?
ooh, there we go.
That's
Around.
the Lawson one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got completely hit, mate. I had no idea what the other thing was doing.
I'd like to see that off board as well. That was Liam
Lawson.
Lawson, and we saw coming along on the outside of Jack Doohan.
Right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to play you through that again, and we'll talk you through it via their clips, and then I'm going to go through the overhead in super slow motion and show you what's really going on here. So, race start
Of the Verstappen-Norris incident. So down into a fairly sort of
Okay, Verstappen dives straight across to try and shut Norris off.
level, wasn't it, in the top 4? Antonelli.
Then, having cut off the inside line to the corner, what is typical, as I've explained in a previous video, is then they try to drift as far over to this side of the track as possible, opening the corner up so they can carry as much speed through that corner as possible. You see, when Oscar overtook Max later on in the race, Oscar wouldn't let Max move over all that much because Oscar stayed here. So therefore, Max couldn't open the corner up too much. Max still didn't put the brakes on to slow himself down to take the corner at an appropriate speed. Hence, he locked up again. Took too much speed into the corner, locked up.
Nice and wide.
Oh, Max has locked up again there. What causes locking up? Well, we're told when you do your braking in a Formula One car, you do all your heavy braking in a straight line. Why is that? Okay, well, the reason is when you start going around a corner, the weight of your car gets transferred to the outer part of your car, okay, when you're cornering. The inside part of your car to the corner gets unweighted. And if you're applying a braking force, unless you've got an asymmetric braking device on your car, which modulates that braking force, right? If the braking force is symmetrical across the front axle and symmetrical across the rear axle, it can differ front to rear, but across an individual axle, if the force applied to both of those wheels on a given axle is the same, and one of those wheels has got all of the mass acting on it and the other has become unweighted because you're going around a corner. Think of when you're driving and you go round a bend a bit quick, you feel like you might tip up on two wheels, yeah? Yeah, like that. The ones that are like feel like they're going to tip up in the air, if you hit the brakes at that point, the one that's in the air will lock up, okay, because there's no resistance forcing that wheel to keep rotating. The brake caliper grabs onto the disc and that wheel stops, and the other one keeps rotating because the mass keeps that wheel going around. So Max has come into the corner hot, too fast. It unweights one side of the car. He's still braking because he's still having to brake to try and slow that car down. And it locks a wheel. Surprise, surprise. We'll go through this with Jenson Button later on when he's describing the Oscar Piastri situation. Jenson thinks it's because it's a bumpy track. I'll explain the reason to you, Jenson. Don't you worry, little head. Anyway, we'll carry on.
Max locks up.
Yep, absolutely right, Martin. Well done. Explain that to the kiddies and the mechanics of it, Martin, because they won't understand.
Then
Lando goes side by side. Now, here's the thing. These cars are accelerating, aren't they? Whilst there's some curbing here and it's a bit of a bend, what they've done, they've just come out of a slow speed corner and they are accelerating. And essentially, they're not having to brake for this bend. It's not a typical corner in as much that there's a braking zone that then you assess the point at the braking zone because they're still accelerating. They can accelerate because it's actually just a curve in the road as opposed to an actual corner, even though it might be designated T2 on the circuit map. I'm not sure whether it is or not. It's highly likely that it is because a lot of the time on the circuit maps, each curve, each kind of slight bend is designated a corner. So on this one, they are not particularly braking. They're probably easing off the throttle to modulate their speed through there, but it's not a braking zone as such. They're still likely to be accelerating. However, accelerating in a manner that enables them to carry the momentum to make it around here to enter the next corner. So this one is a left-hand bend, and the next one is a right-hand. We'll see the curbing on the right-hand side of the track. So at this stage, there's no real braking zone, but on entry to the bend, Lando is level with Max. Being level, on the outside of this bend, Lando is entitled to be left track room on the exit of this bend.
up the inside of him.
And what happens? Max runs him out of that room. That is the illegal maneuver. Look at every other competitor on here. They're coming round here and they are coming around the bend because it bends around, doesn't it? It bends around to here. They've come from such a slow speed corner, and yes, they've accelerated up here, and it's not massive braking force involved. It's modulating your speed around there and making it across to this corner here at the bottom of the screen that you see in. Look at the cars that are side by side. The cars on the inside coming around this bend here, what you call T2, do they come across directly to this side of the track? Or if they know they've got a car on their outside, do they keep their line such that there's track room on their outside for the competing car?
And then Verstappen has another slide, which meant he walked the car off to the right.
He has another slide. Okay, out of control. If your car's sliding around, what are your inputs to be making it slide around? Are you seeing the other cars slide around? Is it aggressive use of the accelerator or brake that's causing your car to be squirming around like that underneath you? The other drivers aren't doing that. How come Max is doing that? In doing that, what he's done is impeded another driver. Lando's had to take evasive action. We'll go through Lando's steering inputs.
Right towards Norris. Norris had to take avoiding action. But
absolutely right, Martin.
I think Verstappen was ahead in the apex fight.
Irrelevant, Martin.
You like in that section, in that chicane.
It's front wheel of Lando Norris to wing mirror at Max Verstappen.
How far forward is your wing mirror?
We can't see.
Where is to go for Lando? We'll see his steering input.
From that angle, whether Lando had the right to the corner and the right to space.
You can't see from that angle whether he had the right. Why can't you identify that he did, Crofty? Oh, we can't see. We can't tell you whether Lando had the right to the corner or the right to be left space. We can't tell you that. Why not? Because you can't incriminate Max Verstappen. You guys are paid to suck Max Verstappen's dick, aren't you? And you cannot incriminate him. You cannot tell people of the world that Max has done something wrong. You can only tell people that Max is the best you've ever seen.
Yeah, the driving standards guidelines, this might give us...
Max is the best you've ever had.
More of a clue.
Give me a better view.
The guidelines say...
The guidelines say Max is the best I've ever had.
If you are doing the overtaking, you have the right to this corner on the inside.
No, we're not talking about this corner, Crofty. Like I say, Max locked up. Okay, what he's done by locking up is then meant that he's had to really get the car turned around, losing momentum. Lando's got the momentum, hence can pick up the drive better, allowing him to get himself alongside. Okay, so Lando came out of that corner better.
If you are front wheel to wing mirror.
So it's this corner that the situation. He's side by side. He's entitled to room on exit. You can see, you can hear, there is no braking going on there. It's still accelerating, isn't it? So it's not a case of where do we assess who's entitled to what. You can see that they're still accelerating. And where's the apex of the corner? Well, we don't know, but let's assess it approximately. This bit is obviously marked by the rubber, so this is evidently where the cars tend to go over when they're on the racing line, and will tend to try and come over here, and then they'll leave the curbing here as they head across to the other set of curbing on the other side of the track. So they'll come around this bit of curbing here, aiming to clip the curbing. So we'll aim as somewhere around here will be the apex. The point in time where they are unwinding their steering from steering over there to the left to go round a left-hander, as you can see Norris is doing now, okay, to unwind that steering to head over to the right. Oh, Norris has had to, oh, what a kerfuffle that is. We'll do that in slow-mo in a minute, because Max came across on him. Rather than steer around to the left, Max has already shut him off. At that speed, despite Lando trying to pick it up again, what happened?
Yeah, that was a shove.
You've got no time to react. You've actually got to gather your car up so it's not spun off the track completely. You've got to try and regain control of the car and best get it back on the track in the safe manner possible.
Off the racetrack, wasn't it? I think he was sufficiently, it was sort of front axle to front axle.
Yeah, he was.
Well, if Max Verstappen...
So let's just go back to listen to the engine note.
This might give us more of a clue.
It's giving me a better view.
The guidelines say if you are doing the overtaking, you have the right to this corner on the inside.
It's not this corner. Right, listen. Come round the bend, listen to the engine note.
If you are front wheel to wing mirror.
Yeah.
They're still accelerating, and he's come off the throttle when Max has come across on him. Now, we'll try and just slow that down. Let's just go back to...
More of a clue.
It's giving me a better view.
The guidelines say if you are doing the overtaking, you have the right to this corner.
Right, let's try and listen to the... You're going to have to ignore the commentary because that's going to sound awful. Again, try and pick out the engine note.
On the inside, if you are front wheel to wing mirror.
That is the point where Lando eases off. Up until that point, he was still accelerating because you can keep accelerating around that curve. He wasn't braking. He was forced into that act because this car came across on him. He was forced to take evasive action. Who else got forced into doing that? 19 drivers other than Max Verstappen. Which of the other drivers did that to a fellow competitor?
Yeah. That was a show off the racetrack.
Yes, it was. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take you through the slowed down version of the overheads because that's really telling. Okay, so here we go. Overhead view of the start, and there's a lot going on that they didn't pick out. All right, they didn't pick out the chain of events that took place due to what Max Verstappen has done. 20 cars on this grid, all lined up. Now, there might be some starting from the pit lane, but ultimately there's 20 cars. I don't think there is any starting from the pit lane for this one. I think that was a sprint race. So, we come round the first corner. Max goes in too hot, hence locks up there. Okay, Lando comes underneath of him because by locking up, you carry on in a straight line. Karun Chandok will say carrying on in a straight line is understeer, understeer, understeer. What that means is you're carrying too much speed and your car doesn't respond to the steering input. Why? Because the momentum of your car wants to carry on in a straight line despite you steering those front wheels. The weight of the car, the inertia of that car wants to carry on the trajectory it was on. Okay, how do you counter that? Oh, you just slow down a bit, and then your car will actually grip with those front wheels, won't lock up in the same way, and will go where it's intended to go. But they'll try and claim, oh, that wasn't Max's problem. It was a problem with the car that it understeered, and it's never Max's fault. Okay, no, it is Max's fault because he's gone in too hot, and that's what it's going to do. Okay, it locked up. Out of control. If you lock your brakes, you're out of control. Anyway, we come round here. And as I say, look at all of these cars doing this. Look at every car coming around there. We're going to go back 10 seconds because I want to just focus on every car coming around here. Which of them have come in here, locked up, and come wider? Which of them have done that? So, Max is here locking up. Locking up. Which of the other cars are locking up? Are they all coming round a curve? All coming round a curve. Yes, they all coming round a curve, respecting the space of the other cars around them. Now, sometimes there's 3 and 4 abreast. It gets tight. When it gets that tight, then occasionally there are mishaps. We have to accept that. But what you have to do is respect those around you. Max doesn't. Max tries to bully everybody. Get out the way, because I'm smashing my car through here. That is Max's attitude. The kiddies like that. The strap-on fanboy gets excited by that. That gives them a boner. Okay, they enjoy that. They like Max Verstappen a lot. Max is the best they've ever had. Right. So Lando's entitled to be left track room on exit of this bend. Look at the speed that they kind of ease. They lift. They don't brake, they lift going around this bit of a bend. All right? Look at all the other cars, see if they lift. See if any of them actually stay on the gas to force themselves ahead of that car through this bend. Okay? Check it out. Check out the relative speeds of the cars. Now, what we know is that Max Verstappen is going to have to take a tighter radius of curve to leave room on his outside so that he can make it around this left-hander and leave room on his outside for Lando to go into the next right-hander. Tighter radius of curve means you have to decelerate more, slow your speed in order to take that tighter line. That's the way the physics works on this, kids. Right? Let's see if Max slows his car. Oh, Max tends to shoot. He looks like he's shooting ahead, doesn't he? A little spurt on there from Max. Little spurt from Max. Okay, look at everybody else. We'll rewind this in a minute. Is there a little spurt coming from anybody else? Oh, the car on the outsides here. That's Oscar on Antonelli. The car on the outside's going the faster car there. Max was the car on the inside doing the spurting. What's going on with these two cars here? Which one goes faster? Oh, they're about evenly matched, aren't they? What about this car relative to the Ferrari? Oh, they're about evenly matched. They're about evenly matched. That one next to there. See, we can only see that. Let's go back again. Of the cars on the inside, which cars on the inside jump forward relative to the one that they're next to? Max does. Super Max spurts forward. What about the other cars? Do any of the other cars on the inside spurt forward relative to the car on the outside? No. Kimi's braking. This one over here, they remain evenly matched. This one here, this blue car, the Williams. Okay, what's it done? It seems to have gained ground on Lewis, but did it spurt across to this side of the track, or has it left track room? Oh, it's left track room. Which of those cars spurted forward and came off this side of the track here? Which of them has done that? Which one is riding this curb as they go around there, knowing that they had a car on their outside? Let's have a look. Spurt forward and caused Lando to take evasive action, ended himself barely on the track, fully over the curb, pretty much. Has anybody else, from that start position of being the inside car at turn 2, ended up on here, leaving no room for the car on their outside? Well, Kimi didn't. George didn't. Is this Carlos? He didn't. Who's this in the Haas? Is that Esteban Ocon? He didn't. Who's this in the Alpine? Is that Gasly? Or is it Doohan? He didn't. Just Max. Just Max. See them all curving through there because this is the layout of the track, and they leave room for the person. Just Max. Max forces himself over here, shuts the other guy off, forces the other guy off the track. That's crowding somebody off the track. Oh, that's Super Max, everybody. The best we've ever had. Yep. Now, look at this. Having been forced off the track, Lando does well to keep control of the car. And when you see Lando's onboards, you'll see these walls approaching, these tyre barriers approaching very quickly. And travelling at that speed, he has to try to filter himself back on track, because you'll see he had nowhere to go. He's left the track. He's now got a car that's on track, having been forced on the track. So he's got to be aware of Piastri there. Started here, level with P1 in the race, joint leader of the race. Being forced off, had to keep control of the car. Look at the runoff area narrowing as now the track blends in. The runoff area is running out of runoff area. See? He has to blend himself in. He has to attempt to re-enter that track in a safe manner. But there's nowhere else for him to go. There is nowhere else for him to go. He's at that speed. What do you expect him to do? Put the brakes on and wait for everyone to come by? Do an emergency stop on this blue painted section? How grippy is that? How safe is that? Oh, Max doesn't care. Max just forces him onto it. So Lando's trying to pick his way back onto the track. He's now down in fourth. And we've got the faster moving George Russell. George is having to take slightly evasive action to make amends for Lando trying to come back onto the track, which he's having to do. We've then got the two Williams cars. Look at this. They're having to take evasive action because Lando, the slower moving car, has had to come back onto the track as safely as he can, but there's nowhere else for him to go because now we've got barriers there. Okay? You don't really want to be risking being on the curb and not having any traction, and therefore trying to do that causes you problems. But look at these two Williams cars now. This one here having to take evasive action because Lando's not up to speed yet. Look what happened. You know, we're talking about chain reactions. In trying to evade Lando, he's hit his teammate. His front tyres collided with his teammate's rear. That could have easily ended up in a major accident. That could have sent his teammate spinning off into the barriers over here. Why didn't this, we all remember 2021 Cops Corner at Silverstone. What's going on there? Oh no, that was completely different because that was before the curbing of a corner. This was when the car on the outside at that tried to chop across the line of the car on the inside. This is a different situation. This car didn't go spinning off into the barriers, but it was a perilous situation. Look at him. Look at him. Coming sideways, isn't he? And he's just about gathered it. Just about got it back there. So, joint first Lando was. Now, Max is first. Kimi's second. Oscar's third. Is that George? Fourth. Alex Albon, fifth. Carlos Sainz is challenging Lando. And Lando's up to speed and probably manages to maintain that position ahead of what looks to be Sainz. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lando's now down in 6th position. That is how Lando's race has been impacted. And when you're 6th position like that, you lose time due to field spread. Already, there'll be, when they go through the timing zones, Lando will be, 3 seconds behind? It's not easy to get that back against your teammate. Max has impacted Lando's race. And that's what it is. But you got Brundle and Crofty. Martin can call it out that Lando got pushed off the racetrack, didn't he? He did call that out. But Crofty tries to equate it to when Max left the track by his own choice, wasn't entitled to track room there, left the track, gained a position, and asked if Lando was going to get a penalty in a similar way to Max did the previous week. Well, Max gained a position. Max had already been overtaken on entry to that corner, wasn't entitled to be left track room, left the track of his own accord, and gained the position, took first position. Got a just a 5-second penalty. This time, Max is the one guilty of forcing a car off the track who was entitled to be left track room. He impacted that driver's race, forcing that driver down to 6th position and doesn't get a penalty. Who was the steward? So that was the Great White Hope. That was Derek Warwick. That was Felix Holter, one of the other corrupt bastards from Abu Dhabi 2021. The one missing of the trio was Gary Connolly. That filthy bastard still is a steward now and again. Warwick and Holter, the Max Verstappen fluffing crew in the FIA stewards department. Oh, we've had a look at it. No further action required. Oh, it's Max. It's a racing incident. Yeah. That's what it is, isn't it? No, it's not. It's filthy driving. It's dangerous driving. It's out of control. It's a danger to your fellow competitor. It's the sort of thing that you don't know the consequence. You've pushed Lando Norris off onto an area of the track. What's the grip level out there? Could he have gone flying into the barrier? Lando had to, with the speed he had to carry over there to try to keep control of his car, had to come back onto track. In doing so, that caused the other drivers to have to take evasive action. There was nearly an incident there. The two Williams cars, one nearly spun the other one out. You don't know the consequence of that. Who caused all of that? Max Verstappen. That prick caused all of that. 19 cars behind him. 19 cars then having to deal with a situation where it could be utter chaos. Drivers spinning over the track and the other drivers having to avoid slamming into them as they're trying to accelerate through an area. That's where you're going to get major incidents. That's where you're going to see people harmed, hurt. Max doesn't care about that. All of the other competitors, they drove with respect for those cars around them. They're all on a full fuel load. They've all got cold tyres starting a Grand Prix, reduced grip levels, reduced compromised handling, driving accordingly. Not Max Verstappen. Refuses to yield, tries to bully the other cars off the track. Zero regard for his fellow competitors. And the fluffers tell us that's incredible. That's filthy. Junior drivers in junior formulas, they try and replicate that. What's going to happen is there is going to be massive accidents, massive collisions, and there's going to be harm done to those competitors. People are going to suffer injuries, and it could result in competitors losing their lives due to those competitors having no respect for their fellow human being. And that is celebrated by these C-nuts in Formula One. That is celebrated by the strap-on fanboy who doesn't consider that. They just get excited. They get a boner by Supermax. Oh, we like Supermax. Johnny Wankrag in the comments section. Fuck 'em. Fuck 'em, because they're just as much as a cunt as Max Verstappen is. It's funny how cunts like cunts. Fuck 'em all. Thank you for your time.